All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Please come closer if you like. And we're going to have an intimate gathering here with a bourbon toast, so no need to stand afar. Well, we certainly have a lot to celebrate here together, and because so many of us have done so much together over these past 12 years, and the creation of Bourbonism has been a really huge part in this journey that we've had. You know, when you think about the kind of things that comes across a desk, any mayor's desk in America, it can be some pretty challenging stuff, you know, so problems in healthcare, education, crime, infrastructure, explosions, it goes on and on. So when you have the opportunity to work on bourbon and bourbonism, you're like, yeah, let's work on that today. And so many of y'all have been such an important part of this journey. It was about 8 or 10 years ago when we coined the term bourbonism. When Louisville Downtown Partnership, we asked them to trademark bourbonism as well. And we said that bourbonism required, you know, 4 key ingredients. Obvious first one is bourbon, right? Then Kentucky hospitality, Louisville hospitality, distillery experiences, and then our great local food scene here and the great chefs that we have together. When you put all that together, Chris, you call it bourbonism. And people from all over the world are coming to experience it in just tremendous numbers now. Today, we have 10 distillery experiences downtown, representing over $261 million of investment. The Urban Bourbon Experience, a citywide trail filled with award-winning micro-distilleries, exhibits, and craft cocktail destinations. That's just the past couple years, right? So we can't take this for granted, Ed, right? 10 years ago, it was nothing, man. You know, but we all started dreaming and we all started having a big time. Since 2017, Louisville has been home to Bourbon and Beyond. It's now a 4-day event that brings together national acts, great food, and of course, even better bourbon as well. Bourbonism is embedded everywhere in the community, from the walls at the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport to the 11-foot barrel art installation in downtown's Bourbon District, throughout our local restaurant scene, which was ranked amongst the top 10 foodie cities by Southern Living and one of the best foodie cities in the U.S. by Wallet Hub. People are coming now to our city with great expectations, and guess what? We exceed those expectations, so that is fun. None of this happened by accident, because you all know many of us were involved with making it happen and dreaming about that. And it required a lot of intentional planning and a lot of hard work, but it was fun work. So with many of you all here today, I convened the Food and Bourbon Work Group in 2014 to identify ways to grow bourbonism as an attraction and an economic development tool. If you were part of that local Food and Bourbon Work Group in 2014, please raise your hand so we can say, good job, everybody. Yes, sir. Chris Morris, thank you for all of your good work over the years here. You're a devout bourbonist and founder of the Order of the Writ here locally, so thank you very much for all the good work that you've done. Now, that work group envisioned distillery experiences in different ways that bourbon could reach into all aspects of our hospitality and tourism industry, including a signature bourbon-focused event. And so this was not, you know, inconceivable, right? We all knew about Napa Valley. We know how wine and Napa and how they created their incredible experience out there. So we simply said, why can't we create a parallel to that, and of course make it better, right here centered in our city, with Louisville as the trailhead of the Bourbon Trail, our own Urban Bourbon Experience as well. So we had a template out there, and we just wanted to put our twist on it and make it better. So we went about to doing that. This is the only work group or task force or commission that I've been involved with where we set 5-year goals, and the goals were completed in 3 years, with huge enthusiasm behind it to do even more. So the foundation that we've built around bourbon and bourbonism during my time as mayor has paid tremendous dividends for our city. An entire economy has sprung up and is supported by it, bringing new investments and jobs and attracting millions of visitors now to Louisville. I want to thank the distilleries, right? None of this could be possible were it not for our distilleries. We just said, hey, let's try to amp up the marketing side of this and the tourism side of this. So thank you for all of our distillery representatives here today. Rick, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yep. And the private sector responded in a big way. 15 new hotels have opened downtown, including the beautiful Omni, where we stood here today. We had kind of a national competition to see who wanted to put a hotel here. And one of the things that Omni said was, we want to build a hotel around bourbon and bourbonism. So when somebody comes here, they walk in and say, my gosh, this is beautiful. And you see this time and time again, whether it's here, the Marriott, the Galt House renovation, the Sealback, the Hilton, it goes on and on here in our community. Just 2 days ago, we had a great $100 million investment with the Dream Hotel adjoining the Fraser. And the Fraser, of course, is the trailhead now, right now, where people come to experience and learn about our bourbon industry before they go off and about. So these hotels are going to keep coming. We're talking to a lot more as well. And I told the Mayor-elect Greenberg, he said, you're going to have a good time, man. We got a lot of things teed up for you. So I know our next speaker agrees with me. Rebecca Fleischaker worked with the city for some 20-plus years, most recently, before she left, as co-leader of our economic development effort, Louisville Forward. But then the opportunity to lead the Louisville Downtown Partnership came up, and that's a dream job for Rebecca and one that she is been preparing her whole life for. So we couldn't be in better hands with the Louisville Downtown Partnership. Please welcome Rebecca Fleischaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Indeed, a dream job. And congratulations on what I think will go down as one of your biggest legacies, how to take an authentic and fun tourist angle and turn it into a real, very critical economic driver for our city. The creation of Bourbonism and the Bourbon District, which is a physical place where you can experience the history and charm of bourbon in our historic downtown, is a revival of what actually took place in our downtown on this corridor about 180 years ago. Dubbed Whiskey Row in the 1840s, what the mayor has done over the past decade has helped recreate what was then built up to make Kentucky the largest leading producer of distilled spirits in the country. Fast forward to 2013, after the Food and Bourbon Working Group met, after Evan Williams opened its, again, first new bourbon experience along historic Whiskey Row. That district was born as bourbon companies wanted to make their products and their stories more accessible to Louisville's visitors and residents. Louisville Downtown Partnership, I wasn't here yet, but we're still very, very proud to have been part of this early branding and marketing of this district, knowing full well the impact of the Food and Bourbon Working Group and what bourbonism could and does mean to downtown. Leisure tourism came back faster than anything else in early 2021 when we weren't sure what numbers in downtown were going to look like. And those numbers, people at hotels, distilleries, our attractions, are now even higher than pre-COVID numbers, in large part, if not all, due to bourbonism. A couple of blocks from here, you can walk through a larger-than-life bourbon barrel, and you can tour any of the bourbon experiences all within probably a 5 or 7 minute walk from each other. I'm happy to say that soon joining the district will be 3 new bourbon experiences. Copper and Kings on the eastern edge in Butchertown is already very well known for its brandy, but they launched a new bourbon product earlier this year. Buzzard's Roost is going to be opening a micro-distillery in the 600 block of West Main Street in the spring. And thanks to a change in state law, we will be welcoming recently announced Bardstown Bourbon Company to the 700 block with a tasting room lounge and a bottle shop. We're excited to welcome them into the fold and showcase these new additions as part of the Bourbon District, which includes our website, bourbonism.com, on our fun street banners out on the light poles, and in our marketing materials that we shall share with hotels and Louisville tourism for everybody who comes here. These experiences are unique and provide a visitor a different sort of look into the history of that particular company, the making of bourbon in their own way, and it's important to Louisville and to Kentucky. And lucky for us all, they are amazing draws to our beautiful downtown. Selfishly, I have to give a shout out to the craft breweries that also gained some momentum because of the Food and Working Group, and the subsequent craft breweries that popped up out of that working group, another working group, sorry. For someone who loves beer, me, it's worth noting that pre-Prohibition there were 50 different breweries in Louisville, only 3 of which survived, and today there are almost 24, 22 breweries in Louisville. most of which popped up in the last 10 years. Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations to Mayor Fischer on a remarkable 12 years in office serving our city. Not every public leader has such an understanding of marketing and branding, but this mayor saw the potential. He named it, we trademarked it, and he showed us the way. Mayors, you so often like to quote Muhammad Ali. You probably know what's coming. It doesn't feel quite right to let today go without quoting him, if my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. Mayor Fischer, you helped us achieve it. Louisville and downtown are better for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, there's so many stories in this. Really want to thank Evan Williams and Heaven Hill family, because they had the first Bourbonism experience, I guess we'd say, Sean. And I got kind of carried away. I was excited in there. I said, Louisville is clearly the bourbon capital of the world now. Uh-oh, that's a problem. My phone starts blowing up from all these people calling from Bardstown, And so Bill Shekels was the mayor of Bardstown at the time. He said, how dare you call Louisville the bourbon capital of the world? We've trademarked that forever. I said, all right, we'll call ourselves the bourbon epicenter of the world. He said, okay, that's good. But thanks to the Shapira family for really having the foresight. Harry, he passed on, but that was his vision for doing that. So, and of course, so many others have followed behind that. It's just really great. And what I love about this industry, Ed, is it's five-star experiences. And this is a guy that knows quality always sells. And so it just kind of raises the bar for everybody, the more of these experiences that we go into. I'm going to recognize a bourbon lover in here, but more importantly, an incredible deputy mayor. Ellen Hessen is here, who's been with us each and every step of the way, encouraging us on in the pursuit of bourbonism. Thank you. Chris Nolan's here also. Chris represents Louisville to state government, but more importantly, he's represented the Kentucky Distillery Association and has led the passage of many of these laws in the state that have allowed much more vibrant bourbon experiences in terms of tourism, taking bottles home, et cetera, cocktails. So you and your team have done a great job with the KDA. Thank you. Now, this resurgence of tourism that Rebecca highlighted has helped us be a leader in recovering economically from the impact of the pandemic. Some people said between the pandemic and the protests, Louisville will never recover. Well, here we are some 2.5 years later with economic output greater than before the pandemic and tourism numbers greater than the pandemic as well. And one of the reasons behind that, I believe, is the incredible festival scene that we have here in Louisville. I really want to thank Danny Wimmer and Danny Hayes with Danny Wimmer Presents for choosing Louisville as a premier destination for a festival. Is Doris Sims here? Okay, so I'm going to speak for Doris Sims, who is the VP at Danny Wimmer Presents. So you all might remember they came to town at the Louder Than Life Festival, and great hard rock festival. But you got to like hard rock to like Louder Than Life, so it's its own genre. Like going to many of these festivals, it's a cultural experience. But we got to know Danny that way through the festival, and we supported them any and all ways. I love festivals. I used to be a music promoter. So any way we could help them, we're going to help them. But we decided as part of our work group early on that we needed to have a food and bourbon festival, much like you see food and wine festivals around the country. So the question was, what was our food and bourbon festival going to look like? And we put out a request for information for people to come back with their proposals. And frankly, there was nothing that was quite big enough. I mean, we were thinking like a big event might be close down a couple blocks of Main Street, have some food, put some tents up, maybe have some side bands, and that would be our first start of this. But Danny Wimmer said, hey, Mayor, we got to think bigger. We got to think bigger. He said, we would love to develop a festival on par of Louder Than Life, but we want bourbon and our local food and music to be the centerpiece of this festival. So we sat down and basically on the back of a cocktail napkin, appropriately so, we sketched out what this festival would look like. So that was the creation of Bourbon and Beyond. And the job that Danny Wimmer and their team have done with that festival to where it now, it is always amongst the premier music festivals in the country. And that's not me saying, it's all the other magazines that say that. But that's a critical part of it. And now as that fame of that festival grows, you get more and more people coming every year, more and more people attached to the industry of music, art, food, and bourbon. And then that radiates out with media to attract more tourism coming to our city. So they've just done an incredible job with bourbon. And so, Danny Wimmer, if you're listening out there, thank you to you and your team very, very much for everything that you've done. Let's give it up for Danny Wimmer Presents. Just a few other things before our final speaker and a toast. I want to thank a few of our other great partners on this effort, including Dan Mann and the team at the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. Bourbonism helps airlift of our airport. Okay, so this is not exactly the same, but when you think about Orlando and its large airport, it's down there because of Disney World, people coming there and leaving. And I said, look, as Bourbonism grows, we're going to have that same kind of impact here at our airport. So we need to be expanding our airlift, direct city services, et cetera. And you're seeing that happening right now with more and more direct flights coming out of SDF. And so Dan and his team are doing an incredible job down there. And when I'm asked, do we think we're tapped out on bourbon? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think we're at about a 3 or 4. Because we really haven't, the lead users are coming to experience bourbonism right now. It's not a wholesale kind of cultural, national, and global type of thing. And as that grows, bourbonism is going to continue to really grow. More hotels, more great restaurants, more experiences. So we got a great run in front of us, I think, for decades and decades to come. Why? All these experiences, and I see a lot of our friends here from Angel's Envy to Old Forester and others that I'm sorry I'm not saying it because I don't see you. These are 5-star experiences, and quality always sells. So if you put a quality product out there, people are going to brag about it. They're going to go home as raving fans. They're going to come back, and other people are going to come back. And that's why I'm so excited about what we're doing. Mint Julep Tours, I see you guys over here. They started from scratch, have built a great company, and you've enabled so many people to experience bourbonism. Thank you for what you're doing. Okay, Eric Gregory and the Kentucky Distillers Association, I want to thank them. When we started working in all this, they were a critical piece of this. There were some turf battles over who owned bourbon between the various tourism groups and the KDA. We said, come on, guys. Everybody's got to work together on this thing because we all own bourbon. Not every one group owns bourbon. So we all work together, and that's the kind of growth that you've seen since then. Louisville tourism obviously has been huge. And if you go to a convention where they're selling conventions, Louisville Tourism's booth is like an homage to bourbonism. So people are drawn into this authentic, uniquely American type of experience, so it draws not just tourists, but conventions as well. So Karen Williams, Cleo Battle, and the team doing a great job, and we really appreciate them. And the Kentucky Restaurant Association, because you got to have great food and great chefs and great restaurants in the middle of all this, so that in between their bourbon visits, they can have some great food to keep them going. So they've been incredible as well. And I want to really emphasize the importance of every person working at every distillery and every distillery experience. Hotels, restaurants, cab drivers, Lyft, Uber drivers, anybody that touches a tourist. The goal is to make this 5-star experience so that every touch, somebody's like, man, something special is going on in this place. And we're in the process of making that happen. So everybody, you know, regardless of what your role, I just want to say thank you very, very much. Every role is important because every touch that we have on every person can make it or ruin it. Fortunately, we're making it in a very, very big way. Farmers across the region, this has been really important to us. I hate when people talk about urban-rural divide. We are joined all together, number one, as human beings through our heart, compassion, kindness, and love. But we're really joined when we sit down at the dinner table together and share food with each other. So we could not do this without the great farmers around Kentucky. So everybody makes a big difference in the success of bourbonism. No city, no administration, no mayor, no chef, nobody can do it alone. But I get such good energy off our food scene here because we have some incredible chefs with incredible creativity. We don't allow prima donna chefs in our city because we work together. We're a hospitable city. You know, we're a teamwork city because that's what it takes for everybody to grow and achieve success together. If we all don't get success, it doesn't matter. If just one of us is, that's a failure. So we're all in this together. And in that chef scene, the food scene, the citizenship scene, Ed Lee is incredible. Before there was Bourbonism, he had world-class culinary, world-class hospitality, and Ed's one of these guys that you can do anything with because he's got big ideas, he's able to execute and do it in an authentic way around the assets that we have. So Ed, I'm so grateful for what you've done over the years with food and the image and brand of our city. You're a good man. Let's hear from our friend, great leader, Ed Lee. Thank you, brother.
That's a great hype job there. This is in 2022, my restaurant 610 Magnolia celebrated its 20th year. And I've seen a lot of transformations happen in Louisville over 20 years. But mostly, so importantly, it's been the bourbon, and it's been my customers. 15 years ago, I used to walk, I feel like as a chef, I'm kind of on the front lines of tourists coming in. 15 years ago, I would walk around the dining room, and if I saw someone from out of town, I would say, what are you doing here? I'm here for a wedding or I'm here for work. And I can tell you, and it started with your work in food, bourbon work group, starting like 6, 7, 8 years ago. Every weekend, my restaurant, every table is from out of town. And I go up to every table and I go, what are you doing in Louisville? Bourbon tour, bourbon tour, bourbon tour, bourbon, distillery tour, distillery tour. Every time. And I sit there and I talk to these people and we get into conversations. We drink bourbon. And I say, 20 years ago I arrived in Louisville, Kentucky. And truth be told, bourbon was a good reason why I stayed in Louisville. But bourbon went from being a curiosity, a cool little side part of the Kentucky experience, to now being the focus, to now being the reason why people are coming. But more than that, when I talk to these people, they all tell me the same thing. They go, we came for the bourbon, but we stayed another 3 days because of the hospitality. We came because you have to remember, all of these bourbons, you can get anywhere in any store all over the country. And they go, no, we're coming back next year because we love the hospitality, because we love the people. And I always say the same thing. It's why I stayed. It's why I stayed 20 years and why I love this place. And what it's given me my career, it's given me my identity, it's given me everything. And so when we think about bourbon, it's more than a libation. It's more than a drink to me. It's a lifestyle. It's a commitment. It's Louisville. It's Kentucky. And I really want to applaud you, Mayor, because I don't know if every mayor would have the foresight, the vision, and the dedication to be so interested in hospitality, which is our business, bartenders, everyone in this city that cooks and works for a living, hotels. And when you started the Bourbon and Food Work Group, I thought, oh, this is a cool idea. This is something we need. I don't think any of us imagined how big it was going to be and how important it was going to be. So, for me, as we say goodbye to you, one of the things that I feel a responsibility is this thing that you started, which is going to be huge. And as you said, it doesn't happen by accident, and it's going to keep growing. Like, I feel it's my personal responsibility to see this through, to see it through 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, to see what kind of the thing we can do. Because you know what? We're not Napa Valley, and we don't need to be. We have the hospitality and the passion and the community and the people here that make our experience, quite frankly, better than Napa Valley, better than Scotch. And people are looking to Kentucky now, and I love it. I love the fact that we represent this thing. And so thank you, Mayor, for everything that you do. Thank you for everyone in this room. And as a chef, I also have to say, I think as chefs, we were kind of on the front line of the food renaissance in America, and I feel like this bourbon renaissance is happening because of our bartenders and all the people who work behind the bars, and they work late hours and they work hard shifts. And so a big shout out to every bartender across Louisville and Kentucky that does a great job for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. All right, folks, I see we're in the ready position. Thank you, Jody. Well, so throughout all this, we want to emphasize a couple things. Like, the reason why we asked you all to come here is because we are the folks that have helped achieve this. There's a lot more than us, but it's us, okay? It's not any one person. And as Ed just talked about, the exciting thing is we're really just getting started. I mean, the best days of Bourbonism are ahead, which, means opportunities, fun, family livelihoods, more pride in our city and our state. So before we have a toast, can I just ask, are you guys up for the next phase of this journey? Are you up for the next phase of this journey? Yes, all right. Well, with that, I say God bless you all. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this journey, and I look forward to being part of this journey in the next phase of my life. I'm not done, Ed Lee, okay? So God bless you all, and here's to Bourbonism. Cheers.